hopefully. Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to the 2013 meeting of the Alliance, the annual business meeting of the Alliance that we hold every year around this time. My name is Paul Cox. I am the President of the Alliance Council this year again, and it's my pleasure to MC tonight's meeting and hopefully represent people reasonably well up here. We have our usual question and answer period tonight. We're going to hear a team talk. We got the coach up here to talk to us a little bit too, which is a nice change. And we're going to kick it off by going to the big disembodied head of Drew Carey, who I believe is on Skype, and he was unable to make it. There's Drew. Let's hear for the chairman of the Alliance, everybody.
Sorry, I was giving away cars today, so I couldn't make it up to the meeting. Gave away an Audi R8 today on The Price is Right. How about that?
Wow. So, Drew, you can talk a little bit about the season, and I believe we have a video that you're going to show us.
Yeah, well, you know, I thought we had, even though it didn't end the way we wanted to, I thought we had a, good season up to then, and I was really happy with the team, and, it's disappointing whenever it, get in the playoffs and kind of peter out at the end like that, no doubt about it. None of us were happy about the way it ended. But, that's sports, man. You can't, I wish I could write a winning season for the team and just make it happen by sheer force of will, but that's not how it goes. Got to play the games. And so we were all pretty heartbroken, but, I have faith in the guys and the team, and I think we're going to come back better and stronger out of all this. If you want to start the video, that's all I really have to say. I mean, what else can you say? Let's start the video if you want to show it.
Trying to add a second of the game! What a strike from Lamar Nagel! He is red hot! Nagel ball in. What a goal that is! It is Split and 66,000 go crazy! Yes! What a goal! There's a volley! Oh, it's spectacular goal!
One thing I'd like to say is we talked about it over the last couple of years, but we probably, while Drew's still hopefully on Skype and can hear us, we should express our thanks to Drew Carey, who is the one who helped really get the genesis of this fan alliance, getting these guys out here to answer questions and giving us democracy in sports and a method of talking back to our club that no other club in MLS, not to mention pretty much no other club or team or franchise in American sports. And whether we're happy or unhappy about how the season goes, we can express that. So let's give Drew a big round of applause. Say thank you, Drew, for being the man on that. And right after that, we're going to go right to Joe Roth, who is our primary owner, and he's going to give us his thoughts on 2013.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, everybody, for coming out here on this cold night for me, anyway, coming from Los Angeles. God, it's cold. We've been having meetings all day in cold rooms, so this is a welcome change. I hope Gastineau is finished signing autographs so we can get on with it. Oh, hello, Mike. So I think the first thing on my mind is an apology. And I'm going to apologize. I am the majority owner. As Harry Truman said, the buck stops with me. And I'm going to apologize for me and everybody you see up here for the way the season ended. And I don't mean the Portland game, and I know you're all obsessed with Portland, and I'm sorry that I don't share it. It just doesn't ring to me, coming from New York and living in Los Angeles. But I'm talking about the last 10 games of the season, because we had the most unusual year I've ever seen a sports team have, where we came out and we didn't win any one of our first 5 games. And then for 22 games, we were by far the best team in MLS. We scored 47 points in 22 games, and October 1st, the last month of the regular season, we were first. We were odds-on favorite to win the Supporter Shield. And so the season started to end when we tied the Red Bulls 1-1 at home. It was a game I think we probably should have won 4-1. And from that point on, the last 10 games of the season, we won 1 game. And we were terrible. So by the time the Portland game, the Portland series came up, it was hard to believe that somehow or other, after 8 consecutive miserable games, that the team that had won all those games in the middle of the season was going to show up. And they didn't. And so the first question whenever these things happen is, fire the coach, fire the coach. And Sigi and Adrian and I spent a couple hours out in Los Angeles right after the debacle with Portland. And it really, again, the buck does stop here. And Sigi has won more games than any MLS coach ever. He's taken teams to championships before, both in Los Angeles and Columbus. And it's our responsibility, collectively, to put a team on the field that has chemistry. And what happened in those last 10 games, there are no excuses. I'm not talking about injuries or national team call-ups or anything like that, is the chemistry of the team, both in the locker room and on the field, wasn't there. i.e., there were too many people, too many players thinking about themselves over and above the value of the team. So when I watched Salt Lake play Kansas City, I didn't see great teams. What I saw was 2 teams that believed in themselves, that had chemistry, that had leadership on the field. I think it's great that Mike McGee won the MVP. You know, again, he's a player that I admire. But in my world, Aurelio Collin is the MVP, and Borchers comes in second, or Beckerman, or someone like that, because these are the guys who, when you look in their eyes, they say, we are not going to lose this game. We are going to do anything and everything we can to win this game, whether it's jump over somebody or jump into somebody. And so it made me reevaluate my thoughts again about the league, which is if the team has a couple of skilled players, and Portland has two, and Nagby and Valeri, and Salt Lake has a couple, and Kansas City has a couple. It's really about the team. The effort has to be with the team, and the chemistry has to be with the team. And these are not 14-year-olds. So coach can't go in there and say, run through a brick wall to a guy who's played in 9 leagues in 7 years, or, you know, they're professional athletes, and they're not children. So I can't lay it on the coach. I can't lay it on Adrian. I can't lay it on Chris Henderson. I can't lay it completely on me. I have to say collectively, what you are going to see next year is a team of people who win, lose, or draw are not going to be able to sleep that night. They are going to do everything they can to win. They are going to be working class, hardworking players who will run through that brick wall because they need to run through that brick wall. I was a very ordinary college soccer player myself about when Wells Fargo delivered the mail. But I recognized I played center back, and I recognized the look in Collins' eyes, and I recognized the look in Borcher's eyes, and I recognized the look in Beckerman's eyes, and I remember that of myself, which is I couldn't stand the idea of losing. I would do anything to make sure that my team didn't lose. And I never thought about, gee, am I doing a good job? Do I look good out here? Or something like that. It was always, what can I do to make sure my team doesn't lose? So for some people, it's the joy of winning. For other people, it's the humiliation of losing. For me, it was about the humiliation of losing. And frankly, our team, in those last 10 games, did not have that feeling. There was too much individual thought and too much individual, let's play, and bad chemistry in the locker room, and all that can be and will be and is in the process of being changed as we sit here right now. So, you may question some of the things, the moves we make. They may not make sense to you individually on paper as what's going on, but trust me, it's all to get one thing, which is on-the-field leadership, chemistry in the locker room, chemistry on the field, selfless play, a couple of very advanced guys who can close, and a group of working class people who are going to make sure that we don't lose. Now, what was embarrassing to me mostly about this team, ultimately, as we finished, was, and I think someone even said it in passing, that's what I've been thinking about, is the passion on the field didn't match the passion in the stands. And that's horrible. That is the worst, absolutely the worst crime that can be committed. If we lose games because some team is better than us, but we go for 90 minutes and run through the brick wall and do everything we can to win, and it is a fickle game, you know, as we see, you know, Salt Lake hit the post 3 times and didn't win. If it's a fickle game, we lose a game 1-0, we did everything we could, and there was a fluke goal or a bad call by the ref, so be it. But the fact of the matter is I can't stand up here and promise you an MLS Cup, but I can promise you a team that expects to be in that final game year in and year out. There is no excuse for us not to be in that final game. Whatever happens in that final game, whether it's penalty kicks or fluke goals or something like that. We can't. But the passion of the fans, how many there are, we have no excuse but to go out there and find those players who will commit the way you guys have committed to us. Now, I'll just end with a little anecdote, unfortunately true, but helpful to me. Like 2 or 3 days after we lost to Portland, my wife took my 2-year-old to a mall in Century City that has an outdoor play area. My 2-year-old will not get up in the morning unless he has a Sounders shirt on. He will not get up in the morning. You cannot get him out of bed unless you're willing to put a Sounders shirt on him. And he goes, "Daddy's team, boom." That's his call. Anyway, they were at a play structure, and it's 9:45 in the morning, so there's really nobody there. It's my wife and my 2-year-old and a couple with a child, a girl. And so my boy starts to climb the play structure, and the couple said, "Wow, he's wearing a Sounders shirt." You know, this is in LA. So my wife went over and said, "Are you guys from Seattle?" And they said, "Yeah, we are." And my wife said, "What are you doing here?" And she said, the woman said, "We could not possibly stay in the city after losing that match to Portland." And she said, "Are you kidding?" And the husband shook his head no. He wasn't kidding. They had to leave. And if I could have left and gone some other place, like Mars or something, I would have done it as well. But that is the passion in which this team has to play. And I don't care who they are or what they make, but if they are valuing themselves over the team, then they have no place being on our team, plain and simple. And if you know me, last year I stood up there and said, well, you know, if a great player comes up, we'll pay the money. And Clint Dempsey's on our team for the next 3 seasons. And he believed me. And he played a game this season, as you probably know, with a separated shoulder. And he separated shoulder early in the game and played the entire game with a separated shoulder. So we need players who will play in pain. We need players who will play through pain. We need players who see 50-50 balls as only theirs, as 50-50 heads as only theirs. And you will see some dramatic changes in the roster because of that. And so everything that happens here from here on in, I'm not defensive about. It's all a learning process. We are 5 years old. I think the 3 great things that happened this year, because I don't want to be a complete Darth Vader, is we had an amazing middle of the season, and we got Clint Dempsey, and we found DeAndre Yedlin, who is and I swore I wasn't going to point anybody out, but I guess I have to. So DeAndre is only 20 years old. He's here tonight. He is exactly the prototype of the player we need. He's fearless. He's fast. He's gutsy. He's willing to do anything. Makes a mistake, he's fast enough to get back. He is a guy who has all the future in the world. And the good news is through the system that we've been working and through Adrian and the guys, we have some very, very good academy players and a very good U16 and U18 players. So the future is definitely ours. The present we have to make happen today. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. I think that one thing that we might have forgotten in the end of the season, but just how important, Joe mentioned it up here, was how last year he stood in front of this crowd and said, we, meaning the owners, are going to do what we need to do to provide a winning team to Seattle and to us fans. That was a promise he made to us fans. And I think that despite the end of the season leaving a bad taste in our mouth, we should give these guys some serious respect and thanks, because when they had a chance to get a world-class player, and we're not talking just any player, but a world-class guy that was at the top of the best league in the world, in Clint Dempsey, they made it happen. So personally, I want to say thank you to you guys, and I think everybody else should too, for stepping up and making Clint happen. I think that an owner in American sports doing what they actually said they're going to do is pretty tremendous. So, next up we have Bart Wiley, who's going to talk business.
Paul, thanks. Thanks for coming. My name is Bart Wiley. I oversee and help run business operations for the Sounders with a host of many. I think back 5 years ago to sitting over by the pro shop, and we were just trying to figure out what this democracy in sports thing was. And I thank you for your patience with us. I thank council for their patience with us as we continue to work through exactly what council's role should and is with the organization. We had a meeting earlier today, an hour-long get-together with ownership and those 42 council members. They meet monthly, council does. They meet quarterly. We try to meet quarterly with ownership. Much like this meeting, that is unique to sports. It's cool as a member of the front office, as an employee of the front office, to see an ownership group willing to sit down with season ticket members. And it's cool for me to look out and see you here tonight. I know this is a season ticket holder benefit, and we are appreciative of you coming, and thank you for your time. Just a quick couple slides on business operations, and this is called the brand wheel. When I first heard and sat in a room with some marketing folks back in 2008, and they asked me, Bart, how does the brand make you feel? I kind of chuckled at that. This now, as a brand wheel, sits in offices and cubicles at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center. And as an office employee, as a front office employee, we make many, many decisions in the office. We do not do anything in the office without consulting this brand wheel. It's the lifeblood of the organization. And the three key words there in the middle of that brand wheel are kind of what drives us. So as you, as a fan, are thinking, what are they doing as a front office? We look to this brand wheel for guidance every day. And when we often go out and talk to other clubs about, hey, how have the Sounders been able to do what they've been able to do? The first thing we point to is this brand wheel. And again, you won't come down to our office without seeing this. We make many, many key decisions with the basis of this being the brand wheel. I'm not sure we've ever showed this to you before, but I wanted to mention that. This is a key and important component of the organization. If any of you would want to see this in more detail, we're happy to get that to you. A couple highlights from the 2013 season. Once again, you, a fan base, set an attendance record. We've done that for 5 straight years, and as a front office, as an ownership group, as a team, we thank you for that. 44,038 people. That's a staggering number. We've all been to other sporting events in the league, in the country, and have 44,038 people watching a Major League Soccer game again. A staggering number. You look around the world and you think, wow, so where do the Sounders rank? Well, 22nd. We're a little 5-year-old soccer team in the Pacific Northwest. You think of some of the big leagues and the big teams around the world. To be sitting 22nd is a testament to the fan base and to the amazing ticket sales group we have for the Seattle Sounders. We've mentioned 5 consecutive times they made the playoffs. Season ticket membership was up from 2012. We're tracking nicely heading in to 2014 as well. Across some of the business units, ticketing, suites, retail, budgets were set, budgets were exceeded. Some great stories, some continued international attention from folks like HBO, from Bloomberg Television. Some of you bumped into Mike Gastineau, who wrote a book about the Sounders organization. Some of you probably went and saw Scott Levy's film at the Cinerama. Continued fantastic buzz, brought on by the fantastic nature of the organization and a great PR group. A big thing and a big thrust and a big interest with this club and with MLS is the youth system. And Adrian and the team down at Starfire continue to do a great job building up that pyramid. Joe just mentioned DeAndre, a homegrown player. We've talked a lot tonight We'll talk some more about if you were at the stadium the night Clint Dempsey was announced. I've been to a lot of sporting events. I'm sure you have too. I had goosebumps that night. When I saw him coming out in the field, I knew it was even going to happen. When I saw him come out in the field, and I saw Joe and Adrian and Peter McLaughlin there on the stage with Clint Dempsey, it was an honor to be a part of the organization during that announcement. What a fantastic atmosphere we have. I've been to pretty much every MLS venue, and I haven't been anywhere where the atmosphere is as good as it is at CenturyLink Field. We open the stadium up several times a year and say, hey, you know what? We're going to challenge the city and the fan base to come out and support the Sounders for a full stadium game. We did 4 of those last year. If you were at that Portland game with over 67,000 people in attendance, again, it's a staggering number. I think back to my days with the USL Sounders in CenturyLink Field. 3,300 people there on average in 2008. To come from that to where we are with over 67,000 for Portland, again, staggering. We launched a rewards program. If you have instead of a paper ticket, we gave you a card. We call it the Match Pass. And we're excited about that program and some of the benefits there. What's happening for 2014? Some opportunities. Some of you might have seen a tweet earlier tonight by Aaron Levine at Q13. We'll be happy to announce in a few days that KCPQ and Joe TV will be our new television partner next year in 2014. We all know Xbox is back on our jersey in 2014, and we're actively talking to them about extending that relationship. We've been excited and honored to have them on the kit the first 5 years of our existence, and we're excited about continuing talks with them to extend that relationship. Some of the things we chat about internally, and it works and helps and hurts our corporate partnership group, is the number of times we're on national TV. When you put over 44,000 people in your stadium and you have a fan base as interesting as this one is on television, people want to see that on national TV. The league loves us. We're only allowed to be on national TV 14 times a year. In 2014, we'll be on national TV 13 times. We'll work through that with some of the league. We're working with our partnership group as they can continue to go out and seek dollars from partners. We're excited about council's involvement. Council's talking about perhaps forming an executive committee to work more closely with the front office. We're excited about that. We've mentioned the Match Pass program. If those of you who redeemed a reward or experience last year, we want to increase those and continue to find ways to help you get to have some money can't buy experiences with our club. We also know there's a little event next year called the World Cup. We have some players that'll be there. We're, along with the league, working with some ways to activate around that and make sure while the league goes dark from June 12 to June 22, we're doing some smart things in the market around the World Cup. Some of the things we're also working on and will continue to work hard on these next few months and in the next year is we have had our own standalone website the first 5 years of our existence. That will change next year. We're going to adopt and migrate over to the MLS League platform. Our digital guys, our technical guys in the office are now pleased with that. Not so pleased when that began 5 years ago. That's why we had our own thing. We're now at the point where we think MLS is doing a great job in that regard. We're going to migrate our website to the league platform. We're working hard to have an aesthetically efficient website that you'll be pleased with. We always ask ourselves, you know, the brand is strong, the brand is good, the brand is only 5 years old. How can we continue to be relevant in the market? Sitting with our marketing group and asking ourselves that question. We'll introduce a new third kit next year. I mentioned there were 4 full stadium matches in 2013. We're going to increase that number to 5. There'll be 5 full stadium regular season matches next year. We also included in your season ticket package an 18th game this year, which is a friendly. We hope to have some news soon on that, on who that opponent will be. We want to grow. We're a business. We overall want to continue to push the envelope, and ownership has been fair but challenging to us as a front office and saying, hey guys, what a great first 5 years. How are we going to continue to grow that? And we'll work on that hard. Youth programs. We have an amazing summer camp program. Over 6,400 kids rolled through a summer camp program in 2013. We want to see those numbers increase. We're going to look at starting a resident camp next year and working on, which is an interesting title, an adult fantasy camp for next year. As I read that, maybe that was an interesting way and a way we should look at maybe typing that up in a different regard. But we're going to come to you with an adult fantasy camp Don't get the wrong idea. That's going to be soccer related in 2014. We are excited about that Match Pass program. We want to continue to find ways to get you engaged with our brand. Our team, our coaching staff, our front office, our ownership group is keen to get you in situations you may not be able to get with other sports teams or other players. And for those of you who took part in Experience last year, great. We want to continue to find ways to get you involved. Adrian will mention this a bit later, but one last quick thing. The Reserve League, as we know it, from MLS is going to go away after the 2014 season. And the league is asking us to look at and work on beginning to think about a USL Pro franchise, whether we do that on our own or whether we partner with an existing group. We're working hard on getting together a USL Pro franchise that will begin more than likely in 2015. That's a quick snapshot of some of the things business-wise we're working on. Again, from myself, I thank you for coming. I appreciate your time, appreciate your effort. And please know that there's a lot of people sitting down at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center in Renton working very hard on the Seattle Sounders brand and business. We're available. We like meeting with council. We like this group. Ownership, again, from day one said, we want to listen to our fans. That's why you're here, and that's why we do this. We love your input. And my email address is quite simple. It's bartw@soundersfc.com. I welcome any meetings, any comments, any questions. Again, thanks for being here.
Next up, fellow council member Stephanie Steiner is going to come up and talk about what we did on the council this year.
Good evening. What do I point it at? Brief overview for 2013. The council had held 9 general business meetings. There are currently 44 members on the council, and 29 members are entering their second term. We have some members who are leaving at the end of this meeting. They are Mackenzie Clark, Bob Davis, Mark Inderhees, Evan Colias, Ron Lamb, Aaron Reed, and Justin Williams. We thank you for your service and very much appreciate your contributions to the council. In 2013, we had several major points of focus: to revamp the Alliance Council voting system, review supporter group submissions for renewal, review and revise Cascadia Cup away game ticket allocations, create a design contest so that fans could create their own scarf for 2014, and partly through the year, the new security system became a very strong topic of conversation. So for council voting, first of all, very special thanks to Leanne Johnson and Dan Rowe for their involvement in the voting system. Self-nomination will now take place at the beginning of the process. In the past, not all nominees even wanted to be on the council. Voters then choose from the list of names instead of typing in names. And what comes out of that is a much better system for allocating the votes. In the past, we dealt with misspelled names, the wrong first name, the wrong last name, sometimes just an initial. It made it difficult to get the votes allocated correctly. The new system can update every 10 minutes or so. This is great news for everybody except those of you who continue to nominate Roger Levesque. You're going to have to ask him to nominate himself. Supporter group recognition. We renewed the recognition of 4 existing supporter groups: Emerald City Supporters, Gorilla FC, East Side Supporters, and the North End Faithful. Cascadia Cup away game ticket allocation is a contentious issue every year. This year, 800 tickets for the Portland game went to supporter groups only. For the Vancouver game, there were 1,500 tickets total. A few hundred were available for non-supporter group fans via club procedures. Remaining tickets went to the supporter groups. 2014 is under discussion. Our favorite topic, the new security policy. Wands and the rollout of metal detector wanding was frustrated. We had long lines of fans that were still stuck in line at first kick. Council gathered stories of long waits, crowd disposition, inconsistent policies, and communicated that to the club. Much of our information came from you, from our personal experience, conversations with fans, and social media. Club response was commendable and swift. They increased wand staff for the very next game and invited council volunteers to directly observe the process and bring feedback. Remaining issues mostly involved inconsistent application of policies during wanding at entrances. There was a mid-year meeting with ownership. Wanding frustrations were a large part of the conversation, but we were very pleased that solutions were a large part of the conversation. We also brought to ownership that 2014 is the 40th anniversary of the Sounders. Other topics were outreach to new fans and future club marketing. It was also at this meeting we learned that the new wanding policy was given to us by the stadium and that wanding is considered industry standard. Resolutions passed in 2013 to create a 40th anniversary patch for the club to use at uniforms and other uses. And the Alliance Council also ended the club-determined sponsorship of the council. So if you, when you see the slide that comes up here that talks about this is the 2013 business meeting, you'll see the Alliance logo in that. We're asking to have the Root Sports banner removed and to be in control of any sponsorships of the Alliance going forward. Challenges this year. Size of the council doubled, and to go from 22 members to 44 or 45 members at a high point is a significant challenge to deal with, and a large part of our time was spent just determining what the correct structure is going to be so that we can have efficient business meetings and efficient communications with the club. We recognize that the club could, or the council could easily double again and then continue to double. So we know that it's not feasible to expect Paul Cox to deliver all the information to ownership. It's also not feasible to expect ownership to deal with 45 of us or 60 of us or 300 of us. So a lot of our time and attention was spent on what's the correct structure to move forward efficiently. Council success, the design contest. This was by far our favorite subject. In 2012, we had a design contest, and there were several designs submitted by Adidas. This year, we created a design contest, and I have to give Dan Rowe a tremendous amount of recognition for this. He managed this project, and we had several of us on a committee to help him out, and we got so excited, we all bagged out on him and submitted our own designs, and so then we had to recuse ourselves, and he was forced to have to figure out how to make it work. This was so much fun. The kids that participated, I wish we could have made them all into scarves, but to be able to review 240 fan designs, to see the ones from the kids where they ran out of room and they just went up the side, or they didn't like their design anymore, so they just crossed it out and kept going. It was a tremendous amount of fun. And I have to say, the committee did a great job narrowing this down to the top 5, and all of you did a great job electing the winner. I have to say I'm very happy you didn't elect mine, because this one is so much better. So if Garrett Amini would please stand up. Good job, Garrett. It's beautiful. So I look forward to wearing that scarf this year, and I look forward to the contest in the future. This was just tremendous. We're going to give him a kiss from you, Joe. And you can hand him the scarf and take a picture. In closing, thank you very much for your support, your attendance, and your enthusiasm, and thank you to club owners for your commitment and for creating this forum. We appreciate it very much. Happy holidays, everybody.
So now we move into one of the highlights of the annual meeting every year, when we get to hear directly from General Manager Adrian Hanauer, and this year he has a fellow leader of the club in Sigi, Schmid, to tell us their outlook on how the year went and give us some insight on what went on.
Thanks. If this is the highlight, you put the pressure on. I'd like to start first by again thanking everyone for being here. It's amazing. It's awesome. The passion of our fans, and I'm going to echo a lot of what Joe said. is bar none the best in sports in this country, we think, certainly in Major League Soccer. And, you know, again, I want to apologize as well. And I know Joe says the buck stops with him, and for sure he's the majority owner. I'm the, you know, second biggest owner, and I'm the general manager, and I like to think the thing that you have going for you as a club is there are a lot of people saying the buck stops with me, and a lot of people ready to stand up and take responsibility and make sure that we get things right. And as you know, a lot of the people in this room and on this stage will attest to, there's no one that hates losing more than me. Maybe to a physical detriment. Certainly to the rooms in which I watch the games. So anyway, you know, with that sort of as a backdrop, I do just want to go through again sort of the structure of our soccer business a little bit. We'll go through it quickly. I want to make sure that you're assured that we understand that there are some issues, and we're gonna get them right, and ultimately just try to get through this and let you ask questions as many and difficult as they may be. So again, our soccer operations group is an organizational chart you saw last year. Not much has changed. Chris Henderson, Sigi, and myself work together very, very closely. Grant Clark runs our administration, and then we have our full staff underneath that. There were some highlights from this year, and you know, as painfully as the season ended, you know, we did make the playoffs for the fifth straight year. You know, I actually had to be reminded a couple of weeks ago that we played in the semifinals of the CONCACAF Champions League, and we're a goal away from making the finals of the Champions League, which is a massive accomplishment. And you know, again, it seems like 3.5 years ago, but it was just this past March that we had a chance to you know, ultimately play in the World Club Championships. We had a great record at home, went on a great stretch, as Joe mentioned, but we had, you know, there were certainly lows, and we're not going to shy away from those. And you know, a first piece of it was that our roster was unsettled at the beginning of last year, the preseason. We were still bringing players in, players were leaving. And again, no excuses, but it led to some, you know, some uncertainty and some inconsistency in the beginning of the year. We got things right, went on a good run. Again, there were some players coming and going throughout the season, and you know, ultimately that did lead to some inconsistency. Fewest wins across all competitions, road record, and failure to win Cascadia Cup. Individually, again, a number of these things have been mentioned. DeAndre had a fantastic rookie season. Eddie Johnson had a very good year. Lamar Nagel, third in voting for Comeback Player of the Year. Lamar, I think, wonders why he was a comeback player since he was on the roster or in the league the year before. But Oba was very effective for us. Obviously, we weren't able to keep him healthy throughout the year, but when he was on the field, he scored goals for us. Maura had another good year in assists. Zach played a lot of games. Brad had a very good season as well. From the national team standpoint, again, DeAndre going to the U20 World Cup, fantastic breakout year for him, and again, a reflection of our academy system and you know, what's coming down the pipeline. Clint, Brad, Eddie, you know, leading the United States to the top of the Hex, and obviously qualifying for the World Cup. Jordan Morris, another academy player, a player that you should keep your eyes out for. playing for Stanford now, but played in the Toulon tournament representing the United States. Paul Christensen, a goalkeeper, a young goalkeeper coming up in our academy. Again, pretty self-explanatory. Ozzie, Leo, Eddie, Lamar, winners for the team. DeAndre and Lamar and, Ozzie and DeAndre in the All-Star game. Nagel, Yedlin, again, personal awards. So from a team standpoint, again, highs and lows. We've qualified for the playoffs 5 years in a row. That's difficult, as can be seen by only 2 other teams getting there. And our league, the way it is structured, the way the college draft works, the way the salary cap works, it's designed to drive the good teams to mediocrity and allow the bad teams to get better. So, consistency is one thing that is very difficult in our league, and we have high expectations to be a championship contender every single year. The league tries by its nature to hinder us from doing that. But we will fight and claw and scratch and be creative and be smarter than our competitors and do everything in our power to compete for championships every single year. Obviously, we've won a bunch of Open Cups, been in the final, Champions League success. Again, the record when we score first, very, 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 very powerful when we can score the first goal. And again, some 5-year averages, fourth in goals scored over the 5 years, fourth in goals against, second best record overall. But we haven't won a Supporters' Shield. We haven't won an MLS Cup. And those have to be the targets that we're after. Our playoffs record obviously isn't good, otherwise we'd be winning MLS Cups. So we need to go series by series and win more playoff series, and ultimately that leads to championships. And obviously we'd like to have consistency in Cascadia Cup. A few dates that are upcoming for us in terms of our planning. We run a combine in Las Vegas that comes up the middle of this month. The MLS draft, training camp, a long preseason leading up to first kick on March 8th. Obviously, a lot of scouting that goes in the middle of that. And these are generally the areas of focus for us this year. We are certainly not limited to these areas, but one is the Sounders brand of soccer. And I'll go through the other bullet points first, and then I'll bring Ziggy back up to talk about the soccer. But we have some very specific ideas and philosophy on how we're going to get back to, not back to, but how we're going to continue to focus on the type of soccer that's going to win us a championship and make our fans proud. Playing for the badge. Joe alluded to it, talked to it. We will have a team that you are proud of, that gives you their full 90 as you give us your full 90. Again, I don't think that there's a dramatic overhaul needed in our team, but we need to get the pieces right to battle, fight every single game, 93 minutes, 94 minutes, 95 minutes, whatever it takes to get over the finish line and deliver points. Optimizing the roster for success. This, alludes back to getting the roster settled as early and quickly as possible. There are transactions in the works right now. I'll tell you, we obviously can't announce certain transactions, but the team will look slightly different than it did this past year, as it always does. But again, we're determined to make the moves necessary, work day and night, travel where we need to travel to find players and put the team together to compete. We'll continue to focus on sports science and injury prevention. This year was a slightly difficult year for us in terms of injuries relative to last year. Our overall injuries were up about 10%. You know, some of that can be isolated to a couple of players, and then we were basically even in terms of our injuries with last year. But that's on us to try to do our best to select players that aren't going to be injured. So, you know, that is something that we will continue to focus on. What's that? Yeah, not our selection, but the youth system. It's been mentioned a couple of times, but this is an area of huge focus for the organization. The domestic player pool is getting better, will continue to get better, and can really serve as the backbone and the core for our team and for the league. And you know, we're determined to be better than our competition in this area. The USL team that was mentioned earlier is a huge piece of this. Today, we have a reserve league team that plays 12 or 14 games. In the future, we'll have a USL Pro team. Those kids will get 30, 32, 34 games. It'll be those games will be under the lights with fans, pressure, playoffs, win bonuses, and that should really help in the development, especially those young players coming through the academy system. And ultimately, again, you know, you see the three Open Cup trophies down there. This is all about winning trophies, winning competitions, winning trophies. So again, the focus has to be on doing all these things, you know, in conjunction with the passion of our fans, a symbiotic relationship that ultimately leads to these championships. So with that, I want to let Sigi come up, talk a little bit about the soccer, and I think then we get to go right into Q&A. Is that right, Paul? There you go.
Thanks. I don't have a fancy PowerPoint presentation, so I'll walk around so that way you can keep motivated. I'm going to use a different word, disappointed. We as a coaching staff and the players, you know, we're very, very disappointed with how the season ended and what happened at the end of the year. To give you an insight into our day, as coaches, you know, normally I start the coaches meeting at like 8:45. At the beginning of the week, it's always earlier, so we establish what we're going to do during the week. But daily, we meet at 8:45, from about 8:45 to 9:30, just to go over the certain nuances, differences, what we're going to do at training, what we're going to tweak, what we're going to change. In that last period of time, the meetings went from 8:45 to 8:30 starts, to 8:15 starts, to 8 o'clock starts, because we were constantly probing and trying to figure out what we needed to do, how we could change this, how we could tweak it. So it's an ongoing process. It eats at me. I wake up at night. It bothers me, okay? I've been with 3 clubs in this league. This is the club that's dearest to my heart, okay? I'm from Los Angeles, but this club is dearest to my heart. And when we don't succeed, it tears me up. It tears me up inside. You know, a lot of times I can't show that. You know, I can't rant and rave and scream at the reporters after games. I got to be a professional, they tell me. Although I still think I'm paying a $800 bill to the LA Galaxy for a little damage in their locker room. So club wouldn't pay that. I have to pay that. But it's constantly something that we're trying to do and we're trying to improve upon. Since our season's ended, I've already met with players on the team, gotten together with, I think, as guys who are going to be our leadership group for next year. talking to them. We had a 2.5 hour meeting and just talked about things that we can do better, talked about things that they want to see more as players at training sessions, things that we want to do more of, you know, how we want to play. And I think we didn't forget how we wanted to play. I think we got away from it a little bit. And offense and defense is intertwined, okay? You defend to get the ball. You defend so you can attack, okay? And that's my philosophy, and that's our philosophy as a team. But defending starts not with your back four. Defending starts with your players up high. And we have to get back to pressurizing opponents. To do that, you need players who are willing to do that. You need players who are going to do that and players who are capable of doing that. Everybody makes a big thing in soccer about systems. Is it a 4-4-2? Is it a 4-2-3-1? One man's 4-4-2 plays differently than another man's 4-4-2. And one team's 4-2-3-1 is different than another team's 4-2-3-1 because it's always an interpretation of the individual players you have. They tweak it, they make it unique, and they make it special. And it's not the system. I know we hear a lot about that, okay? And I just read an article by Ancelotti. I was just over in England. I talked to Arsene Wenger, watched Arsenal train, watched some games. And it's all about how can you use the talents of your individual players. And coaches that eventually fail, in my mind, are coaches that get so hung up with their system as the key to success that they forget about the individual players that do it. Salt Lake made a lot of changes this year, and I'm going to use them as an example and change some people. But the leadership core of that team, Ramondo, Borchers, Beckerman, Morales, Sobario, did not change. The core of that team, the leadership core down the middle of the field, did not change, okay? And so they're able to then, okay, new guy here, they can adapt, they can change because the core is still there. Now their core is on the wrong side of 30, you know, almost all those guys down the middle, so it's going to be interesting how it proceeds from there. So for us, our core has to be on the same page. Our core has to do that. All right, and that's what we want to reestablish within our framework of our team. So defending up high, pressurizing the opponent is very important. Keeping possession of the ball is also very important to us. But completing passes in the attacking third of the field is the most important element of being able to be successful and to score goals and win games. And that's what we've got to improve upon. And one of the statistics that we were worst on this year is on shots on goal. Okay, not shots, but shots on goal, all right? And the only teams who had less shots on goal than us were teams like Chivas, DC United, and Toronto, which were all what you would consider bad teams, okay? So are we getting shots? Yes, we're getting shots. Is the accuracy of our shooting good enough? No, it's not. It was one of the things we discussed as players and with myself as a coach is how can we alter, how can we change training so we become better at that? Because obviously we weren't good enough at that. So we've got to do that. Some of it is a mentality and an attitude. Some is don't be afraid of missing the target, which sounds like, well, that's not a shot on goal. But you got to be willing to take that shot. Okay, you don't get a rebound, you don't get a deflection, you know, you don't force saves unless you do that. But now, how do we get comfortable within training to do that? Is it just straight shooting? Is it doing more shadow training? Those are all things that we're talking about and that we're looking at. So, pressuring high, putting the opponent under pressure, possession of the ball, good attacking soccer, movement of the ball, passes in the attacking third of the field, getting our outside backs forward in the attack, which we did, but also at the expense of sometimes exposing our defense. And at the end of the day, we conceded too many goals. Okay, it's the most goals that we've conceded, and we conceded too many goals, especially towards the end of the season. And so that has to improve upon, okay? And we've got to have center backs who individually can defend 1v1, but can also start our attack intelligently and can also dominate the opponent they're playing against. There's one thing to defend and make things equal, and there's another thing to win the duel and to win the battle and get somebody who's dominant. Is he dominant in the air? Is he a dominant 1v1 defender? Does he have the look in his eye, as Joe mentioned? Okay, does he have that desire? All right, and those are all things that we're looking for. A lot of our players have that. And we talk about where we were at chemistry-wise, and it wasn't like we were throwing things at each other in the locker room, okay, but it wasn't where we were entirely together either, okay, and I'll be the first to admit that. And that was a lot of our discussions, a lot of our talks, and a lot of what we were trying to do. We will be completely together next year. We will be a unit that will go down fighting, kicking, and screaming, all right, but that's something that we need to establish from the day one when we begin training. And for us, there were so many changes this year, and by the time our roster got settled and people were moving in and out, it was hard to establish that. And so now going into this season, even though we're going to have some guys who will miss maybe a little part of preseason because they're gone with the national team, we're going to have a unit that we know is going to be there. We know the pieces that are gone that are coming back, whereas this year we were going in saying, well, what piece is going to come in? Is this piece coming in? Is that piece coming in? Where does that have to go? Now Clint comes in, who's a fantastic player. How does that work? How does he work with this guy? Where does he play best in terms of us and our team trying to be successful? So all those things are going to be resolved. All those things are going to be behind us. But the important part of it at the end of the day is that we have to play a brand of soccer that is a commitment from our team to win duels, to win battles, but it's also a commitment from our team to move the ball quicker, okay, to play quicker through the midfield, to keep possession, to get into the attacking third of the field, and then to make those final runs in the attacking third of the field, those slashing runs to get in behind. We used to do it through wing play. That's been our sort of standard operation through our first 4 years of play, for sure, and this year it fell off a little bit because of injuries. Everywhere I've coached, wing play has been an important part of my team, whether it was back at UCLA with guys like Kobe Jones and Chris Henderson, to when I was in LA where I still had Kobe, to in Columbus where I had Eddie Gavin and Robbie Rogers, to having obviously a player like Steve Zakawani, Mara Rosales, Alvaro Fernandez. We got wing play out of it here. But last year we lost our wingers. So we had to find a different way to get width. So we tried to get the width through the outside backs, and DeAndre gave us tremendous width on the right-hand side of the field. So now we got to make sure we establish width on the left-hand side of the field because he can continue to give us that on the right. So we're going to do it a little bit different way, but width is a very important part of our game. It doesn't necessarily have to come through wingers. It can come through forwards making inside-out runs. Okay, it can come from outside backs pushing into that space. So wing play becomes an important part of our game as well. So all those facets we have to put together. We have to be fit. We have to work together. We have to be strong. And we have to accomplish that in the early part of our preseason and then carry it through. But you can rest assured. I can't rest assured because I can never rest assured. You never know what happens. But you can rest assured that our team is committed to that. There's a number of players on this team that if you think I was disappointed or Joe was disappointed or Adrian or you were disappointed, they were more so disappointed, okay? They're not just clocking it in and handing it in. It's personal for them as well. And those guys are the guys are going to stand up, and those are the guys you're going to see on the park next year, and those are the guys you're going to see put in that effort. And there's a lot of things I can go into, which I won't go into, but I can guarantee you that our preseason will be better, will be stronger, and that our team will be together, and that our commitment to playing sounder soccer. And what is the description of sounder soccer? It's a good base of offense and defense that's mixed. It's a good base of making sure we keep possession. It's making sure that we get wing play. It's making sure that we are a dangerous attacking unit, that we're not relying on just one person to score goals, but we can get goals from multiple places, okay? And it's making sure that we win duels defensively and we dominate teams and we build our game appropriately. So that's what we're trying to do. That's what we want to refocus on because we lost that focus a little bit, and that's how we expect to continue to carry forward. Thanks.
Give your full 90 with the Sounders FC mobile app, featuring live audio, matchday blog, and much more to keep you connected. Download your app at soundersfc.com/mobile.